Hey guys, it's MJ, and today let's take a closer look at the Six of Pentacles. This is that card that falls in between the very low vibrational Five of Pentacles and the, hey, I'm ready to start investing in my future, Seven of Pentacles. So here we have this person who is very generous, but with this guy, if he was all that generous, he'd be the King of Pentacles. So this is somebody who is like, I view this person as being fairly new to their resources. There's a level of immaturity that comes with this Six of Pentacles. They like to use their power to their advantage. It's like they have this scale here, and it's like they're saying, well, I am the one who decides who's worthy, who's not worthy, what the price is going to be for my generosity. And so here we have, with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we have this gentleman who is just throwing this poor beggar, just a few pittance. He's like, oh, here, take this. And he looks very generous, right? And at the same time, he's just pulling in all that admiration and hope that this gentleman who's waiting patiently for that money, who's waiting at his feet, right? And so to me, when I see this, the Six of Pentacles, he's no philanthropist. He's somebody who really actually enjoys that power that comes from helping others. It's not like he's just doing it because it makes him feel good. He's doing it because it elevates his social standing. He's doing it because it's like, well, in return, these people are going to look up to me, as they are right here, because they're down on the ground looking up at him. And so we have a scale that's his, making the decisions and balancing out who's worthy, who's not worthy. So really this card is, if you think about it, such extremes. You have the haves and the have-nots with the Six of Pentacles. And so when I created this card for the Crow Tarot deck, my thought was these, the story that came into my head was these two poor crows that were hunting on the beach for food, and it was high tide. So during high tide, there's hardly any food, there's hardly any beach during high tide. And these crows woke up, they were hungry, it was high tide, they went to the beach in search of food, and what they discovered was this crow who just so happened to have had two fish, and he dropped the fish down to the cawing crows on the beach as if he was this just so generous creature. But really what he wanted them to do was, to kind of fall with him and be in his group, and to betray perhaps their group of crows, their roost. And so had these crows just waited a little bit longer, the tide would have receded and there would have been plenty of food on the beach for them. But now they're beholden to this crow just because he threw them a little piece of fish. So very similar in that, I'm going to expect something from you in return. So when I think of this card, the example that comes to my mind is years and years ago, I had a partner, and his parents took us to Hawaii, and that was very generous. It was so generous of them to take us on this 3-island trip to Hawaii. We could not have afforded that on our own. And, and initially we're like really very excited about it. But as the trip grew on, we realized like we had no say in where we went to eat, what we did for sightseeing, anything actually, what time we got up in the morning. And then when we got home, it was always brought up, like when I would say, oh, I can't help you with that today. And they'd say, hey, how was that trip to Hawaii? Did you really enjoy that? It was like that kind of thing. So it's like where somebody uses their power, uses their money, their influence to have control over somebody else, and to keep that cord, or to keep that connection by using the act of generosity to keep them tethered to you. So with the wise dog, I had this idea with the dogs, and it was like how the dog is only loved as long as it's serving some sort of purpose. So like I think of like these stars in Hollywood who have these dogs that are so pampered, and they're designer dogs, and they put rhinestones in the dog's hair, and and the dog provides them like just validation, basically. Like the dog is saying, hey, you know what, because look how pretty I am, I'm making you even more prettier. You know, I'm making you even more desirable to others because, you know, look how great I look. And so to me, when I was making the Wise Dog version of the Six of Pentacles, I thought about how it's separated. There's such a separate line between the love you give and the love you get. You know, and the dog is going to give you unconditional love. It's like so not even a question with a dog, right? A dog just loves you regardless of whether or not you spend $300 on shampoo for it. Whereas if this dog were to say, turn on the person, or maybe become not such a good dog, maybe destroy the house, the person who had this dog may decide, well, you know what, you're not worth keeping. Or if, you know, if this dog is no longer the most fashionable dog, perhaps, then, you know what, they stop spending so much money on it. They stop doting on it. So that was my thought with the Wise Dog, and, you know, taking the idea of having the power, having, you know, the person who has this dog can take it to the shelter anytime, but the dog is going to love you regardless. You know what I mean? And so here with the Grimalkin deck, I returned to the basic message of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck here, in that we have somebody who is, you know, the figure, we have a central figure who's in power, who's handing out to this poor cat, he hands out just the head and the tail and just bone in between. And he's the one who like says, well, look at all the fish I have here. Look at all the resources I have, and I have control over who gets what. And this was the cat from the Five of Pentacles. So the cat who was starving and cold in the Five of Pentacles has now encountered the Six of Pentacles cat, and his excuse me, his posture is still like slumped over, and he's still feeling not empowered by his resources. He's feeling, you know, a sense of like, I'm sure it's a sense of gratitude, but it's also a low sense of self-worth. You know, it's like he's not necessarily earning this. He's taking in a handout. And because of that, it diminishes its value in some way. And it gives the control, the power to this very healthy looking kitty cat here sitting on this garbage can. And you can see like, it's almost as if he's like, hey, dance for me and I'll give you this resource here. So that's, you can see it's really about control. It's about who has the power, who has the money, and what position are you in? And it's a reminder. So if you are in this position where you have some extra money, are you being generous because you just want to be generous? You know, do you have that maturity within you? Or are you being generous because you know in the end it's gonna give you a little bit of power over somebody? You know, are they gonna owe you a favor, you know, or two? You know, are you offering to help somebody move because you know, a couple months down the road you have a big project and you're gonna need some extra hands? So where is this generosity coming from? Is it from your heart, or is it as a way of gaining control, or elevating your position, you know, or gaining power over somebody? You know, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's like, are you using your resources as a form of gaining power? You know, are you buying power by being generous? So I hope this makes sense. Much love, peace, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.